Hey Sagittarius, this is Mimi with Divination by Mimi. Welcome to your March 1st through the 15th, 2018 tarot reading with a little bit of astrology. Um, Firstly, if you haven't subscribed, I would love it if you did. You can click that little image in the bottom right-hand corner of the video right now, and that will give you a link to just subscribe. It won't interrupt the video. And it's great if you do because we can keep an open dialogue. And you can, come back and check your messages, especially if this resonated with you, for yourself at the second half, for the lunations, and of course for people in your life. It's always interesting to have a nosy at other people's energy too. All right, let's get into the astrology first. March the 1st through the 2nd, depending upon where you live, is a full moon in Virgo. And this full moon in Virgo invites us to have a look at the connection between mind, spirit, and body. So it's not a test and there's a wrong or a right answer. There's no wrong or right answer. So all that this energy is asking you to do is look at, do you connect them? How do you see the mind, spirit, and body? Do you see them as one? Do you live with them divorced from the other? In other words, are you all in your head? Are you all just thinking and reading and analyzing? Or are you all in your heart space and in your pineal space where you're spiritual constantly and you're not really dealing with tangible real world, are you living 100% in your body? So, and there's no right or wrong answer. It's just asking that you consider it, ask the question, and then honor the answer. It's positive. This is a very positive and optimistic, energy for the full moon. What else is going on? On the 2nd, there is, as the moon is in Virgo, it's making a square with Mars in your constellation. So Mars has been in your constellation for a little bit here. It's happy there. It's the warrior god energy. And not that you're a warrior, but you're a fire sign too, like Aries is a fire sign. So he's comfortable in your environment. The fire feeds the fire and it's active oriented, and your energy tends to be 9th house, expansive, educational, travel, movement. And Aries and Mars loves movement. They don't like sitting still too long. And that brings us back to the square. So it's a square, meaning a difficult conversation, a 90-degree angle across the natal chart conversation with the full moon in Virgo, the 6th house. Things that might make it difficult, why it might be difficult, is the full moon in Virgo. Virgo is the 6th house, which has everything to do with the body. Virgo's ruling planet is Mercury, and Virgo's motto is I analyze. So it's not that Virgo is not an active energy, it is just in the head. Whereas Mars in your planet is definitely about the body. This is the person that's like, okay, let's go hiking. Okay, let's go skydiving. Okay, let's go running and swimming and jumping. It's very athletic and physically energetic. So those two don't necessarily meet well. Another thing about it is it's the moon, which tends to be about subconscious feelings. So it slows the energy down of Mars in Sagittarius. It doesn't like that. On the 7th, the moon moves into your constellation, Sagittarius. And that just means that your expansive, investigative nature, truth-seeking nature, will be matched up nicely with the moon. So the moon, what is it about? Emotions, intuition, the unconscious. You might have the impetus to dive deep into the unconscious, check out your dreams, keep a dream journal, look up dream symbol interpretation. By the same point, you also might have a desire to educate yourself on different religions, on different psychological schools of thought, psychology schools of thought. Or you might want to just take a trip to an ashram in India and do something that expands your horizons. But usually it has to do with that energy of the moon, which is feelings, intuition, the subconscious, the unconscious, having a look at that kind of thing. What else? In other words, it might be the time that you decide to take your DMT trip. I'm not recommending you do that. And if you do, don't try. What are we moving on to here? The 7th of March, the moon. Oh, I just mentioned that. Sorry, it's moved into Sagittarius. Now, your ruling planet on the 8th, your ruling planet being Pluto. Sorry, I keep saying that. Jupiter. Jupiter is an expansive, illuminating energy, which matches your energy completely. Obviously, it's your ruling planet. It's currently in Scorpio and it goes retrograde on the 8th. So what it's been expanding and expressing and illuminating in the 8th house, the shadow stuff, the repressed stuff, is about power dynamics and possibly sex and power dynamics. now that it goes retrograde, it's going to be slowing down the illumination and revisiting and reflecting and rethinking what's been illuminated. I hope that makes sense. Ninth, the moon in Sagittarius is conjunct with Mars in Sagittarius. So when the moon goes to that, 10 degrees or less right on top of each other aspect with Mars in your sign, we're looking at fast-paced, aggressive moves to express intuition, to learn about other cultures. So when that happens, that nature I was talking about, that energy that I was talking about a moment ago, about your naturally expressive, investigative, truth-seeking nature is just amplified with the warrior god in conjunction. A conjunction is 10 degrees or less between two planets or energies in a sign, or whether they're in one sign or two signs, it doesn't matter. But the conjunction is they're very close. And when they're very close, each of the energies of those planets empower the other. So it's a powerful aspect. So again, if you did plan to take that trip to the ashram in India, Mars will be the one getting your ass going and saying, okay, go online and book it. Okay, now go buy your stuff that you need. Okay, now let's go. That makes sense. On the 13th, Mars in Sagittarius is making a square with Chiron in Pisces. So Chiron in Pisces is an energy that we all have, and it's somewhere in everyone's chart. Chiron is the wounded healer. This is the person who has experienced a pain and then helps others when they experience that pain as well, despite the fact that they're wounded. So this person or this archetype tends to look at old wounds and investigate those old wounds, particularly in Pisces, which is very much about feelings and the collective and spiritual things of a spiritual nature. Well, that energy is not so much in line with the expansive nature of Sagittarius and the fast-moving, go-getting initiative energy of Mars in Sagittarius. So it's slow. In other words, it dampens it a little. If you have to stop and consider the feelings of other people, the pain that other people feel, it forces you to do that, and which means it forces you to take your attention off yourself and what you want, and look at that more closely. So it's not a positive conversation because the energies don't meet well. It's like very different people hanging out. If that makes sense. Sometimes that works out, but when it's a square like this, it's usually an agitated conversation, an annoying conversation to both parties, actually. And I think that is it for the astrology. Oh, yeah, that's all I did. So let's get into your reading, Sag. Yours was quicker, probably because you're fast-moving and Mars is in your constellation. I'm using the Thoth deck, the Tahuti deck. This is a deck with a different system than the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith system created by Lady Frida Harris, who painted the beautiful imagery. She was a Golden Dawn initiate and a very learned occultist, and the infamous Aleister Crowley. So he gets credited with it a lot, but actually the imagery is hers, intellect is hers, the concepts of what you see in here are hers. And she was at her best point in her life when this happened, when this was created, and he wasn't at the best point in his life. So I would attribute a lot of this to her. Sorry. There we go. Nothing against Crowley. He did a lot. But I think if we're going to rely on a system, I would say it was Lady Frida Harris who had a lot to do with this. This is a 4-card pull. It is based upon some situation in your life, something that's going on, something that you're expending energy on. First position is that thing. Second position is a positive aspect of it. Third position is a negative aspect of it. And the final position is any overall advice Spirit has. And I've got the archetype oracle cards, which are loosely based on Jungian archetypes for clarification if needed. Let's get into it. For Sag, mutable, fire sign, ruler of the 9th house. 9th house being about travel, higher education, truth-seeking. That's a Sag thing, man. What's the root cause? Help me find the root cause. Digging apart things to find the truth. Where's the truth? Give me the truth. And once that's there, oh, it's orgasmic for a Sag. I had this discussion with my sister who's a Sag. She said that. She said, finding the truth about something, digging for the truth and finding the truth is like gold. And that makes sense. The Jupiter as your ruling planet. All right, I'll start gabbing. What's going on for Sagittarius for the 1st of March through the 15th of March, 2018? Holy Hecate. Whoa, thank you. First card, positive position, Prince of Swords, an Aquarian energy. So it could be an Aquarius in your life. So there's an Aquarius in your life that is on your mind. Positive aspect is change, 2 of coins. This in the Rider-Waite-Smith system is the fellow with the limna scati and 2 coins or 2 pentacles, and he's kind of like, whoa, I'm juggling and balancing them. This tends to be about balancing resources that you have. So the positive aspect is, I'm guessing, is with this Aquarius in your life, you're on the same page as it has to do with the balancing of resources. And resources can manifest themselves in many ways. People think of coins and pentacles and discs as being about money only, but it can be anything manifested in the 3-dimensional Malkuth Geb world. This could be money, sure, but it could also be health, your stuff and your things, relationships, if you consider them like stuff and things. That makes sense. Things that you have, things that you've established. Okay. Negative aspect. The Taurus card. Major Arcana Hierophant, however you want to say it. So it seems like, oh, let's get one more card here. Overall advice from Spirit. What's the overall advice? The highest level of it. Thank you. Popped right out. Strife. This is the 5 of Wands. Okay. That I might need clarification on. So there's an Aquarian in your life, Sagittarius, which wouldn't be surprising. Aquarius and Sagittarius get along very well. Sagittarius is mutable fire. Aquarius is fixed air. But oddly enough, they get along. I think they frustrate each other sometimes, but they get along. So and this is in the upright. So there is someone that you are dealing with that is in a harmonious connection with you as it relates to the balancing of resources. So it could be a husband, it could be a business partner, or it could be a wife. But the positive thing about the relationship is that you guys are getting along as it has to do with resources, with the fundamentals of getting through life, the logistics of life. Okay, the negative aspect of it is spirituality, it looks like. So Sag, whoever the Aquarius is in your life, and oftentimes because Aquarius is a very progressive, very intellectual energy, extremely intelligent energy, they very often tend toward, if not atheism, at least agnosticism. Or they leave the question possibly their entire lives because they don't want to really touch it because there's so much of it that you can't put through scientific process. You can't put it through the scientific method. And Aquarius loves investigation, but it loves the forever seeking for those things. And that may be part of why they never decide whether they believe in something or not. I'm not saying all Aquarius, but it's very often the case. So that said, the negative aspect of the relation is either that this Aquarian energy is spiritual or too spiritual or possibly spiritually rigid in some kind of restrictive spiritual doctrine. Like maybe you are a Buddhist and he's a Catholic, or you are a Muslim and she is a Jew. That kind of thing. So it seems like spirituality might be the point where you were at odds, whereas in everyday life, you're together. And the overall advice here is the Strife card, which if you look at it, it's got 4 different wands of levels of adepthood against one big black lead caduceus wand. The energy of this is Saturn in Leo. Not a good combination. Lead would make sense. That wand in the front being made of lead is Saturn. Lead is Saturn's metal. Saturn is restriction. And I'm not having a go at Saturn, but it's the heavy lead. It is because it's the rules of the three-dimensional world as you live by them. So like the coyote on the coyote on Roadrunner, the cartoon Roadrunner, obviously lives with a Saturnian ideology of how the three-dimensional world works, because when he runs off the cliff, he always falls. The Roadrunner's obviously operating in a Jupiterian universe where he can keep going and keep running and not fall. Does that make sense, or do you all just want me on medication? Whatever. The point here is that whatever this dichotomy or this issue is, this stalemate that you guys are at as it relates to spirituality, it is something that can eventually affect you. So if you're a young couple and you haven't had children yet, this conversation may need to happen, and a compromise may need to have, you know, the Five of Wands is the confrontation. It's an uneven number. It is it's Tifereth and or Heru or Horus in the Tree of Life schematic. And one would assume that that has something to do with balance and harmony, but not really. It's about an impetus to change. It's a new era, like from Judaism to Christianity, a new direction. From Isis and Osiris, or Aset and Amenasur, to Horus or Heru, it's a new era, right? So this needs to happen. This needs to happen as it relates to this, because as I was about to say, for a young couple, for example, if you're thinking of having children anytime soon, it's a discussion you're going to have, and there may have to be a confrontation. So before you actually get, you know, the couple, you get pregnant or you adopt, or however it is you decide to have the kids, before you actually do that, you know, maybe have this conversation, because if you don't, it would really be a shame to have to divorce after a child is born because you didn't address this issue with you being brought up in a fundamentalist Christian home and your partner being brought up on an ashram. I hope that makes sense. And it has to do with you, Sag, and Aquarius. And the cool thing about this combination of Sag and Aquarius is that one is an expansive and intellectual energy, an investigative energy. That's you. Aquarius is a reasonable consideration of everyone's feelings. He's the collective, or Aquarius, she or he is the collective energy. You know, the interconnection of all of us. So both parties have the tools in their tool bag to come to a compromise. That's the good news about this whole thing. But the conversation has to happen. It definitely does. And better to have it happen before it's something that could really affect people. That makes sense. All right, I hope this helps, Sag. If you have questions or comments on this, leave them in the comment section below. If you would like a reading, something specific to you, then please email me at memememes@hotmail.com. You'll find that email address in the description box below the video. And my pricing is in there as well. If I don't see you for the lunations, then I will see you for the second half of March's readings. And good luck with this, whatever this is. If you want to share what it is, if it did apply, that'd be really interesting. Do it in the comment section. All right, guys, thanks so much for your time. I will talk to you soon. Take care, Sag.